Hi everybody, I'm Bree the Plant Lady, checking in with a weekly garden tour. Thank you to everybody who sent me emails with photographs and videos of your cottage garden. So happy that you've all had successful experiences gardening from seed to create a beautiful spring display. Without further ado, let me turn this camera around and show you some of the highlights right here from my Zone 7 Central North Carolina garden. Well, another round of poppies are just starting to bloom, which is really exciting because in many of the areas the poppies are finished. So definitely having these scattered sow dates is a great thing to increase the longevity of the flowers. You can see them at all stages, blooming, finished blooming, and about to flower, all in this bed right here. Of course, we've got some beautiful broccolis that are continuing to grow. The persimmons are in flower and hopefully they have mostly been pollinated. You can see little baby fruits there. And this one has slightly smaller flowers, but equally interesting. I think they are just some of the most interesting plants that you could possibly grow. These are the Asian persimmons. I like those because they tend to ripen a little bit earlier and they set fruit on lower branches, so you as a person can actually reach the fruit. Here in this section of containers, we've gotten more things pre-potted. We got a bunch of sweet potatoes planted because the Treasure Island series arrived this week. You can see the Thailand giant colocasias are growing really fast. We're just growing these in pots for now because those are going to go out front for a big tropical display. The key lime and that begonia that was a trial from last year just continue to knock my socks off. And somebody asked me about where I put the snapdragons that were in pots, and they were transplanted here. You can see this back one looks really good. The front one here is kind of chlorotic and yellow. I don't think that's as much about the transplant, but it's that there are seeds that are ripe. I need to go ahead and cut these down, harvest the seeds, and give this a good mulching so that it'll actually retain some moisture. Now this border is looking really beautiful. I love when the echinaceas start to flower at the same time as the poppies. Of course, here we've got cilantro that was direct seeded that's starting to go to flower. And I love how the cilantro looks with the mix of poppies and larkspur. Of course, the carrots, the grains. This whole border is just exceeding all my expectations. You know, I think back to what it looked like in February, and I was really nervous that it wouldn't end up growing out to look beautiful, but here it is. And I think it's so much more than beautiful this year. The nigella is really going strong, and you can see the different stages here where it's in flower. And then these are the pods, the seed pods, which are not ripe. So again, when the plants are at this stage, you just leave them alone, because if your goal is to collect seed, you can't harvest them now because the seed isn't ripe. That same thing goes with the poppies. At this stage, just don't touch your poppy pods, just leave them alone. That way they will appropriately set seed and you won't have to buy it ever again. I'm really happy to see that champagne cryptomeria that I named looking beautiful with its little white tips. You know, this has been in the ground for 11 years and that's all as large as it's gotten. So it really is a great example of a dwarf cryptomeria. And at this time of year, it just looks so beautiful with that white new growth contrasting the green. And of course, it's called champagne because in the winter season, it kind of gets like an amber color with cooler weather. Well, back here in the woodland, it's definitely transitioning to summer, where that black runner colocasia kind of fills in the gaps. But I did want to show you, I have a hydrangea in bloom. This one is really protected because, of course, it's in this woodland. And it's one of the few that doesn't frequently get, snapped back from the cold. Like the branches don't die down to the ground. So it consistently blooms really well and you know, nice large flowers. Obviously you can see my pH back here is a bit acidic because the plants are naturally growing this blue to purple. And this is just an old-fashioned variety. I don't remember the name of it, but this week I will be posting some really great tours from the J.C. Ralston, including 2 that specialize exclusively in hydrangeas. These Egyptian walking onions are really looking cool. You know, they're a great plant to be able to share with people. Basically, you know, they just divide really easily. You can divide them at any of these stages. We've had some rain, and of course the rain causes the plants sort of on the outer edge usually to collapse, which is unfortunate, but that's okay. We are done. We have no more garden tours for the rest of the season, not until fall. So Emily will get started on collecting seed. A lot of it isn't ripe yet, but she's going to get started this week. And we'll be sure to make videos about seed harvesting. With the poppies, essentially what you're looking for, the seed pods will go completely tan, and then these little holes will open, and that's actually where you just cut the stalk down, usually to the first set of leaves, and just put the entire stem into a bucket upside down. And I do have a lot of videos from years past showing that process, so you can check those out. They're in the How to Grow Poppies playlist. And certainly by the end of this week, beginning of next week, we'll start doing those tutorials for all of you so that you can follow along with exactly what we're doing this year. Now is the time for the Larkspur to really show off. The colors are just so intense. I really love this plant so much. And I'm so grateful that it's such an easy self-sower. It's definitely a plant I wouldn't want to be without. Remember, animals don't eat it. It's really, really quite beneficial to help reduce your deer and rabbits. Basically, they leave it alone and they go to your neighbor's house. These kales are a little out of control. The birds are totally stealing the seeds, which is fine. All the pots in here are doing really well. I do have a class in June called Sizzling Succulents at the J.C. Ralston Arboretum. You're going to learn about all these succulents, and then we're actually going to do a hands-on workshop where you can build your own succulent planter to take home. So I put the link in the description for that. I think it's going to be an awesome class. You can see all these pots that I did just before the open garden, so about a week and a half ago, are really doing well. It's amazing how great the tomatoes look right now, in part because it's really pleasant. We have a whole week still of 70s and 50s, which is really not normal for the latter half of May in North Carolina. The barley is definitely getting ready to be harvested. We probably won't do this until the end of the week. We're going to be replacing it with coleus, which I'm very excited about because I love coleus. But I don't like it when the spring gardens start to look messy like this. So, soon we'll be changing this out. We're definitely going to save all this barley seed. And, these beds are looking a little more chaotic, but again, now we're just at the stage where if things flop, it doesn't really matter because we're the ones enjoying it. It's not really for show for other people. We did get the Chelsea chop done. We showed you that last week in the weekly garden tour. And, that is always to your benefit, especially with vigorous varieties of Phlox paniculatas. And over through here to the north side, it's, I just think everything is looking great. Thankfully, we have had some rain, so things have perked up a bit. We were getting pretty dry, but it's nice to see that even just like a 1/4 inch of rain makes a pretty big difference in how the plants perform. And I continue to just be amazed at how well these echinacea do in so much shade. It really is just quite a surprise. It's very encouraging. Of course, I've got some irises in here that are underperforming because it is too much shade. So we'll have to do some reevaluations of where things are planted. And this Carex cherokeensis is rocking and rolling. I really love these spikes with the flowers. I think that under the live oak just looks so beautiful. And this morning I had a very special guest who was helping me in the garden, and I've got some fun videos of her to share with you. She actually sat in the hammock and enjoyed herself.
And I just got raspberries, tiny blueberries, big blueberries, or tiny strawberries, big strawberries, and blueberries.
And these are all ripe right now in our Zone 7 Central North Carolina garden. Now you have to gobble them up.
We need an edible flower.
Oh, we need to add some violas to your hands. Have you found some raspberries?
Yeah.
And are they delicious?
Yeah.
And these are a raspberry from Bushel and Berry, which were planted a couple of years ago in these pots, and they are producing. Oh yeah, show the camera. Look at that handful. Okay, now pop them in your mouth. Is it delicious? You made the most beautiful floating flower arrangement. Did you have fun?
Yes.
And look at this collection. It looks a little crazy with my gaudy tablecloth, but it kind of matches too, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I'm so happy you got to visit me today.
Me too.
You definitely have to come back for Camp Arthur Garden Edition. We'll get your hands dirty. We'll also give you gloves, don't worry. All right, say goodbye to everybody.
Bye.
Now as we come out here to the big front border, we were looking last night, and it really is amazing how big some of these poppy pods are. I mean, I think these are some record sizes for me. And remember, all of these poppies are self-sown, and they are really in odd places right along the pathway, but that's where they want to be. But I think we're going to have a bumper seed crop this year just based off of the size of these pods. They really are enormous. So this is like poppy goals here. And I do see a few that are ripe, so let me show you what you're looking for. Let's see, here's one that's even closer. There we go. All right, so you see how it's tan? And you see how there's little holes that have opened. And in contrast, you see the holes haven't opened on these yet, so these aren't ready. This one is ready. And I don't have pruners on me, but basically all we do, we cut it down to right about here. So we don't get any of the leaf material. That way we keep our seeds really clean. And then we will just dump it into a bucket. And basically, we leave the pods turned upside down in a bucket for about a week, and that makes sure that most of the seeds come out. But you'll be amazed when you collect poppy pods, bring them in to use for decoration. Like a year later, there's still more seeds coming out. They're really quite amazing in that regard. The grain wave is definitely starting to dry out, and we'll be harvesting that soon. And this border that Emily really did a great job weeding is looking nice and clean and tidy. Everything that I planted in here has transplanted pretty well. I'm still watering everything to make sure it gets established. Of course, that border there is looking like a perfect cottage with Shasta daisies and Monarda, moneyflower, nigella, and larkspur. We have condensed all of the plants that were for sale at the open garden down to just 2 tables and this trailer. Remember, all of this is going to get planted here. So this is kind of the start to what some of our new beds will look like. I'm sure I'll be looking for more plant material. Inevitably, buying plants is sort of my favorite hobby. And I did want to show you this border. We had the most fun Airbnb people here this weekend. They just had like family over and they had a great little party. It was just so joyful to hear. And they, you know, we could hear them say like, "Look at all those flowers at the fence." It was very satisfying. Now, of course, all these plants have started to lean, and that was due to the rain. I was sort of brainstorming a little bit that if I had put some low cattle fence throughout this border, it might actually give some better structural integrity that would kind of help eliminate this flop habit. So I'm going to definitely be putting some thought into that for next year. But at this stage, like I said, we're just enjoying it and kind of waiting for all of the seed to ripen and taking these moments to just come through and enjoy these beautiful snapshots. Well, and this little corner is really looking great. That's that jet stream hydrangea from the First Editions plant line. And it really is a knockout plant. And of course, with native perennials at the base, including the Narda and Asclepias and the bug box. I really love this corner of the garden so much. And I do hope that you will be sure to tune in to watch the hydrangea tours from the J.C. Ralston. So my friend Tim had really dove deep into all the information you would want to know about all the different species of hydrangeas. So it's going to be a great tour. And you can see these summer containers planted here with tomatoes are really rocking. And the poppies in the containers look great. As you can tell, they have been blooming their heads off. That is definitely one of the easiest ways to grow poppies. On our list for this week is to mow down this buckwheat and get this border replanted entirely with native perennial plugs. And Emily is going to do some prep work in these gardens to get them really well weeded so that we will also come in and get these plugged in with the perennials to fill in the ground plane. That is the goal. And as you can see, the live wall is doing great. All of the containers here in the driveway border are really doing so beautifully. And I again want to express my sincere appreciation for everybody who sent me in photos and videos. I hope you'll enjoy this compilation of all of your achievements. And as always, thank you so much for tuning in to my weekly garden tours. I look forward to sharing another update with all of you next week. Happy gardening, everybody.